Welcome back, Steeler Nation, man, and anybody else who may be tuning in. Thank you for taking a little bit of time to spend a little time with me. I always appreciate that. Quick video, man. I wanted to discuss something that I saw recently on the internets. Very interesting topic, man. One, Patrick Rooney Jr. Again, a member of the Rooney family, Patrick Rooney Jr. is sounding off on the Steelers as far as how they are handling their offseason. Now, in case you guys are wondering, no, he is not affiliated with the Steelers in terms of staff. You know, I'm sure I don't want to say sure, but I was going to say maybe he has some type of, financial gain or whatever from it because it's in the family. You know, he is Art Rooney II's first cousin. However, he's not affiliated with the Steelers in terms of staff or anything like that. So it is very interesting, man, to hear these type of comments come out about the team. So I just wanted to talk about that really quick. Let me pull up the article and then I'll, discuss how I feel about it. Let me pull it up here, guys. One second. So basically, this is what he had to say. He says, for whatever reason, there's been this narrative around the Steelers like, we're going to go all in this year. Rooney said this on a podcast. He said he was on the PBK Picks podcast. He says, what does that mean? Do you think even if you had Aaron Rodgers from 10 years ago, that you're going to be able to compete with Joe Burrow and you're going to be able to compete with Lamar Jackson? Good question. He says the whole key to the NFL is winning your division. That at least gives you a chance basically to get to the Super Bowl. What in God's name does it make you think that you're going to be able to compete with Baltimore and Cincinnati? Cincinnati's defense is terrible, but their offense is light years ahead of us. And Baltimore is just a better team. And I think they finally realized it by kicking the crap out of us in the playoff game last year. They're gonna steamroll us this year. Wow. And this is what he had to say. These are the words of, again, Patrick Rooney Jr. Pat Rooney Jr., again, he is not, quote unquote, affiliated with the Steelers, but he is a part of the Rooney family, the first cousin to AR2. Now, this is very interesting to me, guys. It makes me wonder a couple things. Number one, how does the Rooney family feel about this? Those who are affiliated with the Steelers directly, particularly his first cousin. Number two, is this some type of inside information, right? Has there been, this type of discussion at the dinner table, right? A family gathering. And if he really feels this way, I wonder how that conversation has gone, or is it giving us a glimpse of maybe it's more frustration within the family? However, again, those who are currently affiliated with the team and owners of the team allow this to happen, right? So it's kind of like, some people will say, oh, see, even the Rooney family feel this way. Yeah, but the Rooney family, those that are in ownership with the Steelers, are the owners of the team. So if they felt like that, then obviously they wouldn't allow this to happen. But then that brings me to my next question. Does guys like Art Rooney II give full autonomy to guys like Tomlin and Omar Khan? And I will start more with Omar Khan because Omar Khan is the general manager, as well as Andy Waddell. Do they allow these guys to literally run the organization? And like I always say, because the cash registers continue to ring, it's not like they need to step in because money is still being made because the Steelers are still going to be the talk. They're always the talk. They're not an organization that doesn't make money or an organization that people think might have a chance. So they're not tripping about the lack of, revenue. So do they step back and literally allow the GM and assistant GM to run the team? And do they allow Mike Tomlin to have so many decisions and control over so many decisions? I don't know. But again, to have somebody who was a part of the Rooney family come out and verbally say these things, it makes you wonder. Now, do I agree with what he's saying? Not entirely, right? I understand the overarching point and the sentiment, but I don't necessarily agree with what he said, to the degree in which he said it, right? Sure, I feel like it's going to be tough to compete with a Joe Burrow, a Lamar Jackson. I mean, come on. All the other AFC quarterbacks, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the CJ Strouds. I mean, there's plenty of them. I mean, even guys like my man, Justin Herbert. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert. There's a lot of other quarterbacks in the AFC particularly that it's not going to be easy. It's definitely not going to be easy when you're just talking about straight up competing. However, I don't agree that if you had a 31-year-old Aaron Rodgers, that you wouldn't be, you couldn't compete even if you had that version of him. I don't believe that. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Come on. Aaron Rodgers at 31, that's all I'm going to say. I don't agree with that statement. And I also don't necessarily agree with the statement of, where was it? There was something else he said there. No, it wasn't another statement he said, but it was the overarching point. I get the criticism from everybody, the fan base. I get it. But my question will still remain, what else was it for the Steelers to do? What else should they have done? The mistake wasn't made in this offseason or last offseason. The mistake was made in how they handled being prepared, or lack thereof, for Ben Roethlisberger's departure and his succession plan. That was the mistake. They didn't properly prepare for that. Yes, they drafted Mason Rudolph, but once Ben Roethlisberger, had to say what he had to say, it seems like the Steelers kind of backed off of that until there was no more Ben Roethlisberger. That wasn't the best way to handle that. That is why they are in the position they're in terms of quarterback purgatory. But in terms of this past offseason, which we're currently still in right now, but you know what I mean, this past free agency period and signing period and all of these trades and all of that, what else do you want them to do? People say they would have been cool with Mason Rudolph just going in there and starting, but I guarantee you, let the Steelers lose and stink it up, you would be talking about that. I, for one, was like, hey, if you know that this is not the best team to really compete, go ahead and let Will Howard rock. See what you got in him, because you still have the option to draft the quarterback in 2026. I would have been cool with that. I would have been cool with that. I would be cool with the Steelers literally going through a rebuild year, because I know right now they may not necessarily be capable of getting to the big dance. But most of Steeler Nation would not be happy with that. So it's a lose-lose situation. So that's the only reason why I said, I'm going to speak on that, because as a fan, I'm realistic as a fan. If the Steelers had a rebuild period, if Mike Tomlin finally had a losing season, I would be fine with that, because it's going to take something like that, or acquiring a whole bunch of picks, which the Steelers now have a lot of picks going into next year, to start moving around in the draft and going up and getting a guy or two that's premier talent. It's going to take something like that, like all of these other teams that have these quarterbacks. A lot of them went through that down period and were in position to get the franchise quarterback that had good projections, and look at where they are. We have not done that. So that just is what it is. But again, if you are someone who wants to see the Steelers try to win, they probably went with the best option in bringing in Aaron Rodgers. They tried to re-sign Justin Fields. They didn't value him at $10 million more guaranteed dollars. It was just that simple. The Jets offered him $10 more million in guaranteed money. Steelers weren't willing to go that far, so they tried to re-sign Justin Fields. They didn't feel as comfortable with continuing the relationship with Russell Wilson. Cool. So they went out, they entertained Sam Darnold. Probably wasn't willing to give him as much guaranteed money. Rumor is they entertained a few other people. Matt Stafford. Maybe they didn't like what that situation was going to look like in trading and such. So then they went ahead and acquired Aaron Rodgers. But what was the next thing? Like, what would have been the thing that they could have done that would have made everybody happy? That's always going to be my question. But, you know, that's just how we are as humans. You know, we feel like we have all the right answers. So those are just my thoughts, guys. I just wanted to speak on that. I understand Pat Rooney's overarching point, the disappointment as a fan, and obviously him as a family member and a fan. It's tough. It is a tough time. I get it. But again, you know, what were we expecting to happen in this current offseason? You know, it is my belief that the Steelers are going to have to go through that period like most other teams, and they're going to have to move up the ladder in the draft to get a guy, or they're going to have a losing season and be in a situation where they get higher draft picks. But that's what it's going to take. But the Steelers don't operate like that. They always seem to say, you know, we don't rebuild, we reload. They always in a win now type of scenario, and that's just the philosophy that they have. So, not always the best choice, but that's what it is. But it is interesting, man. It is very interesting to hear stuff like this publicly stated by someone so close to the family. So, all of those questions I asked before just makes me wonder. Makes me wonder what's really going on. Maybe we'll find out one day. But outside of that, guys, that's all I got, man. I look forward to hearing you guys' thoughts and comments on the situation. Hey, man, if you like the video, if you like the content, show some love and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so you know when videos like these are up and running. Outside of that, I look forward to hearing you guys' thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.